now, let me invite Anne-Marie up. She's going to introduce or call our new members up, and I'm going to invite John up, Reverend John, excuse me, to do the official.
Okay, I'll just use this mic if that's okay. So good morning, everyone. What a wonderful day to welcome 7 new members into our congregation. So, yay! And I so look forward to seeing you all in classes and activities throughout the year, so thank you, thank you, thank you. So I'm going to call you up individually, and is it okay lining up there? Is that a good place? Okay. Okay, so Douglas Schmidt, just come on up and line up here. Thank you. Okay, Christy Rober. Diane Ronner. Maria Beniza. Oh, sorry. I'll get it right. Cheryl Loofborough. And she brings with us for the month of nature and animals, Jillian, too. Welcome. And Lauren Peach. Turn it over to you.
Well, good morning, all you guys and gals. Thank you so much for being here today. Some of you have been here for a while, some are brand new, and we're just grateful that you've taken the steps necessary to become members of the Seal Beach Center for Spiritual Living. So what you bring here today is very special and deserving of special recognition. It is an energy that adds to the capacity of this entire community. And I'd like to recognize and acknowledge that energy in a special way. So first, I'd like to invite the entire community to stand, if you will, and take a big, deep breath, and open your hands forward. And with that deep breath, I'd like to invite us to turn to the east, which I believe is here, with hands outstretched, to acknowledge and receive the energy of new beginnings, those of our new members, and also to recognize that that energy means new beginnings for us as we shift our consciousness in recognition of that and welcome them into our community. And so I'd like you to take another big deep breath and turn toward the south, which is backwards toward, I believe that's south. Another big deep breath, and acknowledge the changes in ourselves as we give our best love and support to these dear ones, as they give their best love and attention in service to this community. Another big deep breath, and turn to your west. And we go deeper and recognize the experience of energy and the shift of feelings as we all experience something new, something different, and celebrate these experiences no matter what they are. And take another big deep breath and turn towards the north. You guys are good. A deep breath as we acknowledge that each member here is somehow healed, blessed, and prospered by the gifts that have been given for the greater good of this community. Now turn back toward me and look down at your feet, at the ground, and take a deep breath as we center ourselves in the gifts of the Mother that gives life and sustains us all in that grace that we call God. Another deep breath as we raise our eyes up to the heavens and acknowledge that we are embraced in the arms of the infinite that inspires, guides, and supports us in creating a world that works for all, where no child goes hungry, where no one feels unloved, and where prosperity and peace prevail for all living things. Do you, new members of the Seal Beach Center for Spiritual Living, pledge to be loving, supportive, and active members of our community? We do. Thank you. Congregation, do you pledge to give your best love and attention for these new members and treat them with love, compassion, and extraordinary respect? Thank you. You may be seated. And new members, we congratulate you for being here today. As a token of that appreciation, it's an honor to invite you to take one of these books. Thank you for being here today. Christy, Diane, Doug, Mariah, Lauren, and Cheryl. Did I miss anyone? Thank you so much for being here. Be sure to take a book. And now it's my great pleasure to introduce our guest speaker today. I've known this young woman for over 30 years. We have a very special connection. She is the mother of my children. She has together we've served the Central Florida Center for Spiritual Living for 26 years. And she is now an interim minister at Prescott Center for Spiritual Living in Arizona. She's the author of 2 books, and she's working diligently on the 3rd. Please help me welcome Reverend Cath DePalma.
It's so great to finally get to be here and to meet all of you and welcome new members. I think it's almost been a year since Reverend John has been coming, and so it's about time that I get to meet his other family, right? Where's this place that you go every month? So I'm very, very happy to be here and honored to have you, let me speak today. So anyone ever feel like you're doing life alone? It's easy to go there, isn't it? Even when you have a lot of experience in this teaching. Anyone ever put the brakes on to more love and acceptance? Yeah. We say we want all of these wonderful things, and yet we put the brakes on to the thing that we want the most, and that is to be loved and to be accepted. So are we ready to be open to all the love and support there is for us? Okay, then you are in the right place this morning. Recently, I had this experience with our oldest son, Nick. He had gotten himself into a bit of trouble, as we do along our paths. Especially, in the earlier years. And so he was in a situation that just continued to snowball. He was, trying to get out of it. He was throwing money at it. He was, just couldn't see how he could face the consequences and deal with them. And so he was putting this thing off, and, it continued to snowball. Anyone ever take a fork in the road, and you think that if you keep on going, it's going to get better, and it doesn't. It just keeps getting worse, and you're like, wow, do I really have to go back to that place? I remember specifically for myself. Anyway, it was something like that. And he had been before a judge a year ago, and she had given him a whole big list of things to do. And he had been working on it, and so I kind of skipped that. When he was finally ready to face it, I said to him, let's do this together. Because I knew that this was a really big thing for him to finally face it. It was at a low point for him. And as a mother, I do my best to try not to say anything and to we try to let the kids do their thing and find their way. But he was at a low point, and I said, that's when the mother, the minister, the practitioner of me zoomed in and said, let's do this. Let's take care of it. So he was ready. A year ago, he had been to the judge. She had given him this stuff. Well, it was days before he had to go back, and he had just a few things that were not wrapped up. And so he was in a panic, and I said, well, let's do a treatment. And so that you can face this with confidence, you can go in there and speak your truth and give her your proposal, your proposed plan, even though he didn't know what he was going to do or what that plan was. So we arranged a meeting. He called me. He said, I have to get to a special place. And he found one morning a baseball diamond of all things. And so it was, early in the day, no one was there. And so I began my treatment. And what I didn't know was that while I was treating, he had walked up to the pitcher's mound, and then he had walked back to home base, and then he proceeded to walk around all of the bases. And so when I was done with the treatment, he sent me pictures of his footprints around, around the bases. And they were only his footprints. This had been like a clean slate. Someone had cleaned off this field just prior to him being there. And so then he sent me a final picture, and that was the home base, and he had written in dirt with a stick, I am that I am. I am that I am. I am the great I am as me. He remembered who he was. He remembered who he was. So before we said goodbye, he said, God must have been wearing cowboy boots. And I said, yes, God wears cowboy boots too. So everything turned out beautifully. It was a bit like Field of Dreams, build it and they will come. And this is the very same thing that we have to do when we run into trouble or come up with something. We have to stop and remember that God, Spirit, Source, Life, whatever you call it, lives at the heart of us, is one with us, is us. Spirit is us. We are spirit. Rumi, the Persian poet, wrote, your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. So just like for Nick, love was always there. We have to get rid of the barriers, and love is always there for us as well. So we're doing a lot of breathing this morning. Let's take a big deep breath. Some of you might be having a hard time with something. Some of you might be having a hard time with that first breath, as I remember Nick having. So just take another one. We have to be in that place of being centered so that we can really embrace that peace within ourselves and hear that still small voice of Spirit speak. Feel better? It's amazing what just breathing can do for us. Well, my second story today is my good friends Sam and Chris, all ministers. We started a trio about 25 years ago when our teacher, Kennedy Schultz, Dr. Kennedy Schultz, who was the founder of the Atlanta Church of Religious Science, he faced his own serious health challenge. And we loved him so much. He was like a father to many of us. And we were committed to knowing his highest and best and what was happening for him in his time of need. And our trio evolved to be a conference call together every Saturday night that lasted for several years, even after he made his transition. And this call helped us to prepare for our Sundays, do a little venting, with people that understood what it was like to be a minister, to support one another in our personal lives. And then, of course, to, know the highest and best for our community. So we always did a round robin and incorporated the communities as well as our own individual things. And one night, Sam was unable to make the call. And I was especially distraught. I was frustrated. I was overwhelmed. I was out of my league with my work. And, John and I, about, 4 years into our ministry work, had a baby. And Joseph was a powerful force in and of himself. These New Thought babies, they are definitely something else. Well, he still is. Delightful and intense. My biggest teacher ever, I'm going to say. To say the least, I was overwhelmed. I was tired. There was so much to do. There was more than I thought I should be doing for the center. Things just did not seem to be working. I was not feeling supported. Now, intellectually, I knew that wasn't true, yet I wasn't feeling it. And so Chris, the other partner, says to me, "You know what your problem is, Cath?" Now, let's just stop there. When anyone says that to you, that it's not going to be something you want to hear, right? I should have known this was coming because he's that kind of guy. Anyway, he said, "You don't have an up-close and personal relationship with God." You don't have an up-close and personal relationship with God. And it hit me like a dagger to my heart. When the truth is revealed and it's called, it stops you in your tracks. I couldn't ignore it. It cracked my heart right open. I was doing all the right things. I was tired. I wasn't taking care of myself. I was not feeling my feelings. I had lost my passion, all of the above. I was definitely not feeling my connection with my innermost being, with the God of all creation, with the universe. So what he said was true. It was a very healing moment for me. It was a turning point because now I had the clarity that I needed to focus on what I needed to focus on, and that was that my relationship with Spirit, my relationship with God was my first and really only focus. That was my first and only focus. So I am forever grateful for him for calling it out so clearly, so loudly, as he was very good at doing. And everything shifted for me from that point forward. Things flowed. It was the same scenario, but I had shifted, and my focus was different, and I had what I need, that invincible partner by my side. Husbands are good partners, and John was always a beautiful partner all the way through it. And I'm going to say, there is nothing like the God partner. There's nothing like our inner being that knows us best and that is always by our side. That comes first. So my third story today is I put off being a grandmother as long as I could. Like I really had a choice in the matter, right? Like you can tell your kids when to procreate. But it wasn't because I didn't think that I would enjoy the experience. I thought that I would. It's not that I didn't love kids. I love kids. It's just that my plate was filled. It was full. And our youngest was still at home, and I said, universe, please, let this wait until Joseph goes off to school. So the day came where Joseph went off to school. You know, we had been a serious team, John and Joseph and I, you know, through the years of him growing up. And now it was time for him to leave and spread his wings. A little bit of a relief, I must say. And, you know, it was a big shift for us all. Well, do you know that I'm pretty sure it was less than 2 months I got the call. I had been heard. I got the call. And then approximately, like maybe a few weeks later, her and her partner called us and said, we're having twins. So my plea was heard. Guess it was time. There was an opening. The universe abhors a vacuum. I was nervous. I didn't know how to be a grandmother. And I asked myself, was my heart big enough to embrace 2 more beautiful beings into our lives? Was my heart big enough to embrace? That was the real scary part about it. Aubrey and Everly, identical twins, you know. Yes, not 1, 2. Compound interest. You know, when you wait, you get compound interest. Here's an aside about babies. Did you know that babies' eyes only see images and shades, and that learning to see is a process, much like learning to walk? That some experts say that it takes 1 to 2 years for babies to be able to see and interpret things like we do. That's a long time, isn't it? Even to be able to get both eyes working together is a huge feat. Now that would explain why newborns cry a lot, right? Especially because their nervous systems are adjusting to our life here, to their, families. Their bodies are growing at phenomenal rates. Their brains are growing tremendously. There's so much to acclimate to here. You know, how could it not be disturbing? How could it not be frustrating? So I did what I could in the way of reassuring the babies. I went there to visit them, and I started with Everly, who was crying one day, and I said, Everly, you are a magnificent being. Everything's going to be okay. You came, how you and your twin, Aubrey, have come in together to love and support one another, how you must have come here to do great things, bringing in such reinforcements. Not 1, 2, and how I would always be there for her no matter what, no matter whether I was here or not. And then later that day, I took Aubrey in my arms, who was crying unconsolably. I took her into the kitchen to get a little privacy, look out at the snow in the backyard, and I told her the same thing. I told her how magnificent she was, how she had come in to, with her twin together. They came together to love and support one another, how everything was going to be okay, how she must have come in to do great things. They must have come in to do great things together because they came in with such reinforcements, 1 and not 2, and how I would always be there for her no matter what, no matter whether I was here or not. I spoke to them of things that they couldn't possibly understand or see, and even still I knew that I was speaking to the spirit of them, which is invincible, which is forever, which is a full-grown spirit. And it hit me while I was comforting Aubrey. She was in my arms, and I felt myself like there was a cloud coming in around me. It was very subtle. I could have easily missed it. It was soft, and I felt like there was something larger than both of us, larger than me, that was loving and embracing me and telling me how magnificent I was, how everything was going to be okay, how I must have come in here to do great things, how it would always be there for me. And I smiled and I savored the moment. It was a moment. Every relationship we have is ultimately a relationship of spirit with itself. You know, we all experience frustrating moments, as much as we did when we were babies. Sometimes it takes us years to get the clarity to see what we need to see in order to do what needs to be done, you know. What was unclear and confusing in the past now is very clear, and we know what we need to know. So why are so many of us still frustrated with what we see and hear going on in the world even today? Why do we find ourselves in that place? Why do we find ourselves going as far as we can go? It's because we don't have a better understanding of love. We don't have a better appreciation and understanding of who we are as spirit. And without knowing and utilizing the real love and support that is here for us with our partnership with God, with Spirit, with life, the Divine One, you know, it's a difficult ride. It's a hard life to live without knowing all of those things. We are in a magnificent partnership. Nothing could be farther than the truth that we are doing this alone. We may feel that sometimes, but it's not true at all. So imagine with me for a moment, just take this in to the best that you can take it in. Someone telling you how magnificent you are. How magnificent you are. Everything's going to be okay. You must have come here to do great things. How they will always be here for you no matter what. They know of things that you couldn't possibly see or understand yet, and even still, they speak to the great spirit of you, which is infinite and forever. And this is something that you can do with yourself. Your higher self is speaking to yourself. This is a gift that we must give ourselves. The gift of an up-close and personal relationship with Spirit, our source. All we have to do is recognize that it is already in place. It's always been there. It always will be there. It's the most natural thing ever. It really is the most natural thing ever. And as we do this, our world will shift and change and transform because we have taken on an invincible partner who will never let us down, never forget us. It just doesn't get any better than that. Always love and appreciate us, no matter what. There's nothing that we can do that can rock that off or get that. I'd like to close with Ernest Holmes saying, love is the sole impulse for creation. And the human being who does not have love as the greatest incentive in their life has never developed the real creative instinct. No one can swing out in the universe without love, for the whole universe is based on it. Thank you very, very much. Namaste.